Now students, this next question is pertaining to your post-independence history, wherein we are specifically talking about the integration of Indian princely states into the Indian Dominion. Let's try and understand what the question is saying. Now the question is asking us that assess the main administrative issues and socio-cultural problems that were faced during the integration process of Indian princely states. Now here in students, the directive that is given to us is assess. Assess again simply just like critically analyzing something helps us create a narrative analysis with a personalized conclusion. So basically you assess all the pros and cons, all the positive administrative issues, or if there were major problems, and how in the end they were tackled to ultimately integrate the many princely states of our country. So I hope you have understood the directive. When we specifically talk about the keyword, students, here, the keyword is integration of princely states and the administrative and socio-cultural problems. So again, students, when we talk about this particular question, within the introduction, we start by talking about princely states. How many princely states were there? What was their rule of governing? And what were the options that were given to them as a part of joining the Indian Union? In the body, students, it is again divided into two parts, wherein one part will be talking about the administrative problems and the second part will be talking about the socio-cultural problems that were faced by the politicians while integrating these princely states. Finally, students, once we have highlighted both the problems, we arrive towards a positive or neutral conclusion. Now here in students, I would like to tell you that when India got its independence, there were more than 500 princely states. That is something with which we will start our introduction as well. Now students, this mammoth task of integrating so many princely states was given to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who very smartly did the same within a time period of 1 year, and hence he is also given a lot of respect. And recently the Statue of Unity that was also created in Gujarat was dedicated to Vallabhbhai Patel for his efforts in integrating these Indian princely states. So these are some points with which you can start the introduction, or the contribution of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel can be put in the end in the conclusion as well. Okay, so there are multiple ways, students, in which we can answer the question. Whatever we write in introduction can also be repeated in the conclusion as well to reaffirm the point with which we have started. Okay. So let's proceed with our answer, students. As I had told you, in the introduction, we start by defining that there were so many princely states and how it was a very difficult task for the independent country, newly independent country, India, to accommodate the demands of all these princely states and incorporate them into the Indian Union. Now here in students, there were more than 500 princely states, and these constituted almost half the area and 1/3 of the population of Indian Dominion at that point of time. Now this was a mammoth task. Every state had their own demands, and all of these had to be adjusted in order to create a proper dominion. Apart from this, students, we directly move towards our body and start with the administrative issues that were faced by the politicians while accumulating or incorporating these princely states in the Indian Dominion. Now, as a part of the administrative issues, these are some issues, students, that are highlighted for you. I have created an elaborate answer for you, but you can take out those points which you can remember. Even if you remember four or five points regarding the administration, 4 or 5 points regarding the socio-cultural problems, that will be enough to write your answer. Now, students, when we talk about the administrative issues, herein the first important point or the first important issue that you can highlight is the Boundary Commission. As we all know, students, the Britishers, as a part of the Indian Independence Act of 1947, constituted a boundary commission to draw the boundary between the newly created two dominions, that is India and Pakistan. Now, this boundary commission was preceded or presided by Sir Cyril Radcliffe, and it was also known as the Radcliffe Boundary Commission. The problem here was that, students, Radcliffe was not at all aware with the geography or any experience of the boundaries of the country, and that is why the borders that they created between India and Pakistan are a bone of contestation even in the contemporary times. They were made so hastily and without giving a proper thought that they had created problems at that point also. In fact, they are still haunting us in the contemporary times because we have issues with our neighboring countries such as China and Pakistan. Apart from that, students, the other issue was the provisions that were given as a part of the Indian Independence Act. So what happened in the Indian Independence Act? A provision was given for the princely states wherein they can either join the Indian Dominion or they can join the Pakistan Dominion, or if they want, they can remain as independent sovereign states as well. Now, because of this, students, a lot of problems had happened. Let's say we have a particular city that is a part of mainland India. Okay. Now, that particular princely state says that I don't want to join any particular dominion. I want to be free. But that cannot happen because it will lead to geographical administrative difficulties, and hence this particular provision created a lot of hurdles into the quick integration of princely states in the Indian Dominion. Apart from that, students, there were certain demands of the princes as well, wherein many princes were opposed to the idea of giving up their own power and join the Indian Dominion. They were enjoying certain rights. They were ruling that particular area. The revenue was in their hands. So why would they give up so much power and join the constitution? And that is why to kind of appease them was a difficult process altogether. Another issue, students, that was faced by the politicians was the concept of independent statehood, wherein there were several states, as I told you, which were a part of Indian mainland, such as Travancore and Kashmir, who did not want to join either of the dominion and wanted to stay independent. But that was extremely administratively difficult, especially in the case of Travancore. Okay. Moving on, students, some other administrative issues include some mainland princely states who wanted to join the Pakistan Dominion. Now, there were two states, that is Junagadh and Hyderabad, and both of them wanted to join Pakistan. However, they were geographically constrained within the Indian mainland, and thus their demand could not be fulfilled by the politicians. Now, although there was this provision in the Independence Act of 1947 that these princely states were given the right to join either of the dominion or remain independent, yet due to these administrative difficulties, India was pressurized to kind of use force and make these princely states agree to join the Indian Dominion. Apart from that, students, there were certain princely states who were subordinate to the British Crown. That is, these Britishers were helping these particular princely states, and this again was creating a problem in kind of accumulating them within the integration process. Also, students, in the previous slide, we had understood that there were many princes who did not want to give up the power on their land. They wanted to kind of collect all the revenue and did not want to join the constitution or accept the constitution. And that is why, in order to appease these princes, a concept known as privy purse, in which huge sums of amount was given to these princes in lieu of their territory, was done. However, it was putting a lot of financial burden on the Indian exchequer. Finally, students, there was this administrative issue of security, wherein states such as Travancore or Kashmir who wanted to remain independent were becoming security concerns for India, Pakistan was also kind of helping them. They were getting outside help from the Britishers. At this point of time, India had to be stubborn, strong, and had to use its force in order to make them understand that, look, you need to join the Indian Dominion. Okay, so these were certain administrative issues, students, that were faced by the Indian politicians while integrating more than 500 princely states into the Indian Dominion. Apart from the administrative issues, students, okay, so there are a few more points here, students. First one is external affairs. So as I had told you, there were many states, particularly the state of Travancore, that had close relations with the Britishers and they were receiving support from them. Hence, cutting that support and making them realize that you need to join the Indian Dominion was a major mammoth task for the Indian politicians. Also, students, many states were demanding plebiscite, wherein the citizens of that particular state will decide whether they want to join the Indian Dominion, Pakistan Dominion, or remain independent. However, this was not possible specifically in those states which were a part of Indian geographical mainland, and thus it became another administrative issue. As a part of the students, in fact, a special status had to be given to Kashmir, which was contested both by Pakistan and India being a part of their territory, and that is why they were given a separate constitution to kind of appease them and keep them as a part of Indian Dominion. So students, these were some of the administrative issues, and after this there were many socio-cultural issues as well, naturally, because some wanted to join the political dominion of Pakistan because most of them were Muslims. So this led to the communal tension. There were differences in the culture, the languages, etc., which all culminated into the socio-cultural issues that had to be resorted in order to integrate successfully these princely states happily in the Indian Dominion. So herein, students, the first cultural issue, social issue that we have to highlight is the communal tension. Communal tension, students, is something that unfortunately still haunts the politics of our country. Major decisions are based on religion. Despite India being a secular country, it is still plagued by the problem of many religions coexisting in the same land. Now herein, students, we see that during the partition there were major Hindu-Muslim tensions in many princely states such as Junagadh, Hyderabad, etc. And this also led to a major migrant exodus from these regions. We see that a lot of Hindus ran to different parts of the country from Kashmir because they were being executed in Kashmir. We see a lot of Muslims that were not being properly treated in mainland India, so they had to run away to Pakistan or other states wherein there were majority of Muslims. So all this communal tension culminated into a major socio-cultural issue during the integration process. Apart from the students, India also witnessed certain civil wars in princely states such as Travancore, who wanted to remain independent or join the Pakistan Dominion, which was absolutely geographically impossible. Apart from that, students, even the states that were redrawn as a part of the new constitution of our country, there were language differences within a single state, wherein, let's say, there were 2 or 3 cities that were incorporated as a part of a newly created state, but they were majority of the people in those cities were speaking a different language and they wanted to join another state. So later on, students, even after the mammoth task of the integration of princely states, we see that there was linguistic reorganization that had happened later, wherein new states were created on the basis of a common language. Apart from the students, within the socio-cultural issues, we have this concept of secessionism. So what was secessionism? Here in students, some subnational movements gained importance. Subnational in the sense, students, we can take the example of Kashmir or Manipur, who wanted their own nation altogether. They did not want to join either India or Pakistan, wanted to maintain their individuality. However, we could not let that happen due to geographical disturbances. Also, students, like the linguistic issue, we have cultural differences, wherein the major cultural difference, students, was the language issue. Apart from that, you could see that the parts that were earlier administered by the Britishers were quite different in culture compared to the independent princely states. So the people could not mix well with each other. Finally, students, we can see due to the migrant exodus, as communities were subjugating each other, there was a refugee crisis that was happening. There was a lot of issue of resettlement. People were in a pathetic condition, especially because of violence in Punjab and Bengal after the partition. And this led to a lot of social cultural issues culminating into communal tension, the concept of regionalism, language differences, and all of these had to be kind of tackled very quickly by a very new independent nation. But we were lucky enough to have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who with an iron hand took up the task and actually got the integration process done within a small time of 1 year. Hence, students, after this we come towards our conclusion, wherein we repeat what I have just said, that although it was a mammoth task plagued by administrative, social and cultural difficulties, yet India was able to integrate all of these princely states into the Indian dominion, and this was done by the Iron Man, that is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who integrated more than 565 princely states within a year into the Union of India, and that is why he is praised even till today. And a statue, that is the Statue of Unity, which is the tallest statue in our country, has been dedicated to his contribution towards the integration of princely states. So with this, you can complete your answer, give a neutral/positive conclusion after highlighting all the difficulties that were faced by the politicians in our country with respect to the integration process.
Amrita IAS Academy.